I'm Ron Paul. I'm a congressman from Texas, serving in my 10th term. I am the champion of the Constitution.
Why do you think America is so dumb? Was it always this dumb?
I hope not all of us.
No, not all of us.
We're Americans.
Yes, right. But how do you get this smart? I mean, come on. I mean, if America was a smarter country, wouldn't you be leading in the polls?
Let's hope so.
Because, you know, I watched the Republican debate, and I saw this guy, Ron Paul, who has no chance of winning it, and therefore he was very honest, and he's my new hero. And he spoke real truth about the war on terror, about 9/11, about Iraq. He said, you know what? They hate us because we're over there. They don't hate us because of our freedom or any of those stupid slogans that the Bush people put out. And I'm just wondering why a Democrat isn't saying things like that. Say a Democrat who could use a bump in the polls.
Terrorism is a tactic. You can't have a war against a tactic. It's deliberately vague and non-definable in order to justify and permit perpetual war anywhere and under any circumstances. Don't forget, the Iraqis and Saddam Hussein had nothing to do with any terrorist attack against us, including that on 9/11.
Congressman Paul, I believe you are the only man on the stage who opposes the war in Iraq, who would bring the troops home as quickly as almost immediately, sir. Are you out of step with your party? Is your party out of step with the rest of the world? If either of those is the case, why are you seeking its nomination?
Well, I think the party has lost its way because the conservative wing of the Republican Party always advocated a non-interventionist foreign policy. Senator Robert Taft didn't want to be in NATO. George Bush won the election in year 2000 campaigning on a humble foreign policy. No nation building, no policing of the world. Republicans were elected to end the Korean War. The Republicans were elected to end the Vietnam War. There's a strong tradition of being anti-war in the Republican Party. It is the constitutional position. It is the advice of the founders to follow a non-interventionist foreign policy. Stay out of entangling alliances. Be friends with countries. Negotiate and talk with them and trade with them. Just think of the tremendous improvement relationships with Vietnam. We lost 60,000 men. We came home in defeat. Now we go over there and invest in Vietnam. So there's a lot of merit to the advice of the founders and following the Constitution. And my argument is that we shouldn't go to war so carelessly. When we do, the wars don't end. Have you ever read about the reasons they attacked us? They attack us because we've been over there. We've been bombing Iraq for 10 years. We've been in the Middle East. I think Reagan was right. We don't understand the irrationality of Middle Eastern politics. So right now we're building an embassy in Iraq that's bigger than the Vatican. We're building 14 permanent bases. What would we say here if China was doing this in our country or in the Gulf of Mexico? We would be objecting. We need to look at what we do from the perspective of what would happen if somebody else did it to us.
Are you suggesting we invited the 9/11 attack, sir?
I'm suggesting that we listen to the people who attacked us and the reason they did it. And they are delighted that we're over there because Osama bin Laden has said, I am glad you're over on our sand because we can target you so much easier. They have already now, since that time, have killed 3,400 of our men, and I don't think it was necessary.
It's an extraordinary statement. As someone who lived through the attack of September 11, that we invited the attack because we were attacking Iraq. I don't think I've ever heard that before, and I've heard some pretty absurd explanations for September 11.
Well, if you're talking about 9/11, I mean, 9/11 to me was an unprovoked attack on the United States. And I would disagree with Ron Paul on the assumption somehow that we provoked that decision by al-Qaeda to hit us in New York.
Excuse me, Senator, but that's just what the Republicans did to Ron Paul in the debate. They twisted what he said. He wasn't saying that we were asking for it. What he was saying was we should listen to our enemies, and maybe the reason they're mad at us is because we have been meddling in the Middle East. We were in Saudi Arabia. That's what bin Laden was mad at us for. Now we're in Iraq, and we're screwing up that country. Maybe if we listen to them instead of just saying we're always the good people, we would actually make ourselves safer. I mean, with all due respect, what do you have to lose?
I want to go back to this exchange you had with Mayor Giuliani here for just a second. Are you suggesting the United States of America caused the attack on 9/11?
No, I think that's a cop-out. When people imply that, what you're saying is that if you don't endorse my foreign policy, you're un-American, you're unpatriotic.
I never said anything like that. I'm not saying. You're suggesting.
No, but I think that was the point in the debate, that if I didn't endorse this foreign policy, you turn it around, or he turned it around.
I'm not saying that, but what specifically then are you saying? Are you suggesting that our policies are causing the hatred of people that would cause them to want to kill us?
I think it contributes significantly to it, and this is exactly what our CIA tells us. And anybody who's done any research on this has found out.
What have we done to cause the attack? What did America do to cause the attack on 9/11?
Okay, the Americans didn't do anything to cause it, but policies over many years caused and elicited hatred toward us, so somebody was willing to commit suicide. For instance, the occupation with our military troops on their holy land in Saudi Arabia, bombing a Muslim country for 10 years, putting on sanctions that killed hundreds of thousands of people. So that caused an anger.
Are you saying then that if the world has no moral obligation in the first Gulf War, when an innocent country is being pillaged and people are being raped and murdered and slaughtered, or in the case of Saddam, he's gassing his own people, are you suggesting we have no moral obligation? No, you stand by and let that immorality happen?
We have on numerous occasions.
You support that?
We have on numerous occasions. If we feel strongly about it, why don't we declare?
If a woman is being raped next door, we just do nothing there either?
We're just out of time, but the fact is the Reagan administration stood by while the Kurds were being gassed. It happened in 1988. We didn't do anything about it for how many years?
What did we do with Moscow? What did we do with the time we stood by and they did it to their people?
We got to run.
You would stand by and do that. I would not. No, I think that's immoral.
Well, would you have the courtesy to ask the Congress to declare war? Would you follow the Constitution?
We did declare war. The authorization, use of force,
we
got to run.
There's no place in the Constitution that says specifically
we got to run, guys. The Kurds
were
gassed, and we stood by for years until
we gave them the gas. We gave them the gas.
We're not responsible for what happened on 9/11.
They're going to keep debating. More on the other side of the debate. Keep texting us your vote to 36988.
Doctor, no! Say yes to Doctor, no! Say yes to Doctor, no!